Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, another session in our legal technology webinar series. I'm Hella Schwartz-Grossman, Marketing Manager at Worldox. I have a few housekeeping items before we get started. The webinar will be recorded and everyone is muted right now, but if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the questions pane and then we'll address questions at the end of the webinar. Today's session is a roundtable discussion on a popular topic, bookmarks. We often ask, how do you set up bookmarks? What are the best practices for setting up bookmarks? And how do you even determine which ones you need? To help us answer and give suggestions to these questions, we're joined by several of our inner circle VARs today. And I'm proud to introduce our panelists. We have Frank Jones and Sandy Johnson with Legal Software Connection, Rick Bernauer with SciTech, Jen Heckman with Heckman Consulting, Bill Baker, Charlotte Quiros, Sam Swearing, all with Baker and Cadence Solutions, and then we have Peter Brannigan and John Rock with Docs Advisors. And our moderator today is Rebecca Satin, CIO of Worldox. Thank you in advance for the attention you'll be giving the webinar today, and without any further ado, Rebecca, here you go.
Thank you, Hella. So as Hella mentioned, the Worldox software can be customized in many ways. We always recommend that new clients work with one of our VARs to ensure that it's set up in such a way that it'll be user-friendly. One such helpful customization is our Bookmarks feature. Worldox bookmarks are similar to bookmarks you create in a web browser, in that a bookmark is a quick way to access dynamic content. So what I mean by this is that a matter or a location can be bookmarked, or a search can be bookmarked. When the bookmark is accessed, the content may change depending on what is in the matter or what comes up using that search criteria, much like if you bookmark a website, when you pull that up, if they've changed the website, you're going to get whatever has changed. So we have a great group of Inner Circle resellers with us today, and they have collectively over 100 years of experience in implementing Worldox between them. They'll be sharing some of the creative ways that they've come up with to use this feature at their client sites. And this week, I think Rick Bernauer is going to kick off the discussion. Rick?
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. I have been nominated by my fellow panelists and now ex-friends to be the first person to present today. But I'm just going to try to give you a little bit of a quick overview of some of the features of bookmarks for those who might not be familiar with them. And the first is that when you're saving bookmarks, you can get to them by pressing a keyboard shortcut up there, Control-D, or you can use the pull-down menu from the Worldox screen for bookmarks, and you can manage them. But it brings up a screen like this when you're working with it. And one of the things that some people might not be familiar with is that you can change how the bookmarks are sorted on the bookmark bar that appears out there. So that most people do them in alphabetic or description order out there, but you can also have them sorted by the location where it's taking you to and the looking for the documents, but also by the owner. You know, is it something that you created? Is it something that is a global public type of bookmark? And then finally by the type, you know, the different ones, the favorites type searches, direct access, going directly to a folder like a client matter folder, or is it a search? I'm looking for all of the contracts that I was the author of in the last 60 days, and that's a bookmark that's saved. So by changing that sort, can make them come up in a little bit different look and make them easier to find. Okay, Rebecca, if you could move on to the next one. I wanted to say that there are also different ways you can create bookmarks and where you have them appear. Many people just use the bookmark kind of area that appears right below your toolbar. That's if you pin a bookmark to that, it appears there kind of like a little tab or button that you can click, and you can put them in, and it goes all the way across the the line there, just filling them up. And if you keep adding bookmarks, it'll create another line of bookmarks and let you just keep going. And then you can create even more and get up to 30, and they'll take up more and more of your screen, and you have less room to see the documents, and you just see all your bookmarks. At a certain point, Worldox wisely says you're out of control. You need to stop creating bookmarks in your bookmark area and be able to use them perhaps over just viewing them in the navigation panel or under the bookmarks to be able to pull them up there. But the way you can keep them on that bookmark bar is by pinning them to the bar. But after you've created a bookmark, if you don't need it as much, you can unpin it, free up that real estate on your screen, and be able to use it that way. Okay, on we go to the next one. The other is that some people aren't aware that you can save how bookmarks are set up and who has access to them. Now, as a Worldox administrator manager, you have more options. You can give them to everyone instead of just you as a personal user. But another handy thing sometimes is to set up security groups within Worldox and then give access to that bookmark to just people within that group. And the idea that way is you don't clutter up so much. Maybe you create a security group for a particular practice area or for just people in the accounting area or partners, and they're the only ones who see that bookmark. And that can be a real way to help limit who has access, but also keep the screen a little bit cleaner up there on them as well. Okay.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
I think next up, we actually have a video, and if you'll bear with me, we haven't had good luck with videos in previous webinars, but I think we've finally figured out how to do this, so bear with me, and I'm going to hopefully play this video.
We find that bookmarks are one of the most useful features to locate documents within Worldox. Users who are skilled in creating, managing, and using bookmarks are able to locate their favorite documents, daily documents, and active matter documents quickly and effectively. Bookmarks allow you to display any list of documents you access on a regular basis with just one click. Clicking on a bookmark quickly displays all files from a search or a remembered list of documents. Let me show you one of our more popular methods for training Worldox users how to set up and use bookmarks effectively. First, double-click the Work Zone icon to open the Worldox file list window. Click on the Favorite Matters tab on the left side navigation panel. Select one of your recent matters, and this will display all files for the selected matter. Now we need to add a new button to the button.
Okay, so I played the video, but I gather that I don't think anybody can hear it. When I automatically turned on playing the video, it muted everybody. So what I'm going to do is let's go back to the PowerPoint and we'll play it from there. And John, you may need to unmute yourself, but are you prepared to talk us through this?
The screen script is up on the other screen, ready when you are.
All right, bear with me.
Plan B was ready this week.
Yes. All right.
Frank, you get your wish again.
Always lucky to hear your voice, John.
Oh, Frank, geez, such an attaboy.
Okay. Are we playing?
So we still see your we don't see your screen.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that's a problem then.
So I'm seeing the video screen of the recording from where you stopped or from where it stopped.
Here,
So
let me fix this. Here we go. Now we should be back at there. Can everybody see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So here's where we added the new bookmark to the button bar called Create. And
here we go.
so are you able to back that video up just a couple clicks?
I shall try.
Okay.
Well, let me start it over. How about that? Here we
You
go.
could do that.
There we go.
So now you all the way back at the beginning? No.
I think so. Try this one more time.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me wait for the mouse to start rolling so I know where it is. There it is. I don't see the video moving. Rebecca, does anyone else?
Yeah. Let's try this. There we go.
And I can tell the attendees that setting up a bookmark in Worldox is easier than playing a video through the meeting.
So let me just pick up where I left off, because up on the top where all the icons are is what we call the button bar. And what this was meant to show was if you right click to the right of where it says create and you go add button, you have the option to append a button. You choose bookmarks submenu, and then you choose the add this list button. And the new button will appear on the right of the button bar. Okay, so you're all the way back at the beginning, okay.
Oh, that was very strange.
Okay.
There we go.
So click on your favorite matters tab, select one of your matters, and this will display all files for the selected matter. Now we want to add a button. Click on, we need to add a new button on the button bar. Right click the button bar. Video still playing?
Should be.
Okay. So we right click on the button bar, append button, bookmarks, and add this list. That adds a new button up on the button bar. Next, you click add this list button. That gives you the ability to name your bookmark. And a shorter name is better to allow you to add additional bookmarks without taking up a lot of real estate, as Rick just mentioned. Check the pin to the button bar and click Save. The bookmark has been added to the bookmarks bar, and anytime you click this bookmark, Worldox will display a full list of all documents for that matter. When that matter has closed, you can right-click that bookmark and choose Delete Bookmark. So now anytime you perform a search in Worldox and have a list of files displayed in the file list window, you can click the Add This List button to add a bookmark for those files. And the question most often asked is, what about as new files are added to that matter? And yes, they will be displayed, since every time you click that bookmark, it does a search for and displays any new files added. And that concludes our regularly scheduled bookmark program. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And actually, I used
Peter, get ready.
Worldox for I used Worldox for many years, and this seems like such a small thing to put that add this list button on that button bar, but I probably would have had a lot more bookmarks if I just had that on my button bar, because it just makes it so easy to create them. Not that it's difficult without it, but it reminds you just having that visual cue up there.
And it'll also remind you that if you right click there, there's many, many, many other options to add buttons there to give you one-click access to frequently used features.
Yep. Okay. Next up, we have Sandy, who's going to talk about other great bookmark features.
Okay, so one that I think people tend to forget that they can bookmark. I try to tell people, hey, anything you do often or over and over, you can generally create a shortcut of some sort. So let's say I am the author. In this case, my name is Drew A. Blank, and I want all my Word documents. So I bookmark DOCs, I filter DOCs, DOCX, and the author. So I've got the filter placed, and then go ahead, Rebecca. Thank you. So, sorry, I go the long way. Generally, I go up to bookmarks and add this list. Either way works, of course. And then you give it a name. So I just put the author's name, Word doc. So you get all the Word documents. And then as we're pinning them, yep. And then when you go to bookmark it, it will ask, do you want to bookmark the location, whatever the list of documents is, or do you want to bookmark the filter? So in this case, we do want to bookmark the filter. And then you'll name it and pin it to the button bar, and it'll look like that with a little filter icon even, so you know what type of filter that is.
I'm sorry, I didn't learn about doing this until I started working for Worldox.
Yeah, it's a great feature. I think people that do like the filters feature should also try to bookmark some of the filters that they use most often, such as our next one is filtering out something. So if you click on the plus sign at the very beginning of the line, so I did messages. Let's take out all the messages, because sometimes emails are just, there's just too many in there, and you're not generally looking through emails, you're looking through documents. And then it'll look, you give it a name, and I did just no email on this one. And these can be used on any list, not just the list that you're on, but any list that you pull up. And then I think we did bookmark a current list search. So in this case, we're kind of going the opposite way. We've got a list up. We want to see emails in that list. And we only want to see emails sent within the last 7 days. So we use the email sent field down there at the bottom, and you do the last 7 days. And then you can bookmark that, and you'll notice that that is a search, an automatic search, because it has a little arrow. And then you could even probably put in creator or something if you wanted to narrow it down. But this way, if you're looking at a list and, hey, you only want to see if an email was sent, you could do that very easily. I think that was all for me.
Yep. I was just thinking that a lot of people might not know how to add additional fields to these advanced search templates. And I don't know, maybe we should save that for another webinar.
A searching webinar.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, this is Frank. I think it's important to also point out that the current list search is a really underutilized search in our experience with Worldox. That current list is simply looking at the existing list that may be on a screen. And you can think of that as a filter. But the primary benefit of it, what Sandy's done here, is ingenious because you can't do what she's displaying there in a traditional bookmark, because we needed to limit it with other metadata, in this case, the .msg value. And you can get really creative with current list searches that you can bookmark. We've done many things with that. We've done some things where the naming convention of documents, where people may spell out letter and others may abbreviate it with LTR. You could actually create a current list bookmark with letter and LTR in the name field. You could even limit it with a date range and then pin that as a bookmark to bring up all those files on a list that may be named the proper way or with the abbreviated way. So to make a long story short, if you start playing with current list, I think you'll find there's amazing things you can do to filter lists with bookmarks based upon current lists.
Actually, Frank, I think this is something you might know off the top of your head, but I would have to look up. A lot of people just don't even know what comes up when you click on that search what button, but you have a lot of options other than just searching your whole database.
Right, we call that the search scope. That's what Sandy and I call that. You know, where you're pointing the scope of the search towards, whether it's the salvage bin, the current list, the active database, the archived files, and so on.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Peter, I hope you're prepared to narrate your video.
All right,
because you're up next.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, let's see. Okay.
So here's a quick introduction to the last 20s. If you look in our Bookmarks bar, we have 20 Word, 20 PDF, 20 Excel, and 20 projects. So if we want to get to our recent Word documents, we just do a one click here, and it's going to show us our last 20 Word documents. Click 20 PDF, and as expected, we get 20 PDF documents. Excel and 20 projects. If you know what projects are and are able to use those, is a great way to get to your recent projects. So how do we create this? What we're going to go to is Bookmarks, and then Create. Choose Favorite Files. Click OK. We want the words, we'll say just these. And then we're just going to give it a name, and we do want to pin it to the button bar. We click.
Is the video still playing?
No.
No. I think you've stopped the video.
Use those. This is a great way to get to your recent projects. So how do we create this? Well, we're going to choose Favorite Files. Click OK. We want the words, we'll say just these. And then we're just going to give it a name, and we do want to pin it to the button bar. We click Save, and there we go. Our 20 Word is created. Now, one last quick tip, a power tip for you is you can highlight any file here, and I do Open File Location. That's going to drill down into that matter. So that's 20 Word, and that's why they're so powerful. Instant access to recent documents, and also a secret way to quickly.
All right. Did you hear that okay?
Most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it cut out at the end. So I don't know. Do you want to?
I can describe it on it.
Yeah.
That's what the last part, whatever it was. So yeah, basically this is one of the most powerful things I think, because as you know, Worldox is geared towards your recent stuff. So anything you've done recently, you want to be upfront, easily accessible, one click. And then you can do research, of course, for other stuff, but most of the time you're working on a Word document, PDF that you did before. So the ability to just do one click and get that is great. John Heckman taught me this many years ago. I learned from him, and I've always used this in every deployment I ever did since. And the beauty of it is that open file location. That's the extra kicker. So you just look at something recent and now one click. Most people do edit metadata, check the client matter number, go back to direct access and do it that way. A lot of people don't know that you can just actually one click and go straight into that. And it's another example of those buttons that are hidden, that you can put on the top so you remember it and it's there, because you could always right click and say open file location, but most people didn't know about that because it's stored under the more. But if you put the button up there, to me, that's the most productive that I use every day. Is the last 20, open file location. If that gets 50, 60% of the times I'm searching for something, just life is a lot less stressful. So highly recommend it.
All right. Sorry, everybody, for all the technical difficulties. All right. I think we have Van up next.
Yes, that would be me. Audio clear, I hope. And I find over the years working with Worldox that sometimes I'll have batches of documents that I need to bring into Worldox, and sometimes I'll have batches of documents that I need to copy out of Worldox. So I like to create a bookmark to a staging folder that I've created in Windows, because Worldox can look at your documents location in Windows. So go into Windows, create a new subfolder called staging or transfer, or whatever you're going to remember. And then what you see here in this image is to create a Worldox bookmark to that new Windows folder you've created. Navigate to the folder in the navigation panel there on the left of the Worldox desktop. And then we're going to bookmark to that staging folder. Okay, so go ahead, next panel, Rebecca, I think. Yes, here. So we're going to bookmark the tab, and you can use any method to create your bookmark. And then you'll see item 4 on this panel. I name my bookmark staging with an asterisk there. And then over on the right, you'll see on my bookmark row, the staging folder with the yellow folder. Okay, so then that's the setup. You do this once. Then after this, now back up one, Rebecca.
Sorry.
That's okay. After you create this staging bookmark, then anytime, let's say I have an email which has 12 attachments, and I don't want to drag and drop the attachments to the work zone. So if I do right-click Save All Attachments, I'm going to send them to the staging folder. And then when I'm ready to put them into Worldox, I go to the navigation panel, I click the bookmark, select the documents, right-click Move. This is not pictured because you have that, and now you have a bookmark to bring into that transfer location. Next panel, Rebecca, is good. Now, once you have this bookmark, another helpful thing that you can do with it is sometimes I'll have 8 or 12 documents. I need to do an e-filing and I don't want to do it through Worldox, so I need to copy those out so I can organize them. Or I put them where they're going to be accessible for a drag and drop or other method. So what I do is once you've created the bookmark, then you can select the documents, right-click, and once you have a bookmark to a folder, Worldox automatically will create for you a send to destination. So select your files, right-click, send to staging, and then you can go out to Windows and work with the documents for upload or transfer to a thumb drive or whatever you want to do with them while you needed to copy them out of Worldox. Okay, and that's my shortcut for bookmarks.
And actually, I think you've combined it with well, I don't know. It makes me think back to Rick's tips about sorting, but you've done some different things with sorting bookmarks.
It's true, and I like what Van's doing on that. Sometimes I use the asterisks in front of the names to get them to move to the head of the line when you're sorting by description, but I use them for kind of global or master searches, and then I use a hyphen or a minus sign for my filter searches that I want to keep there. And it just by putting that symbol in front of what you call the bookmark helps sort them into their own groupings out that way. And so I recommend the asterisk and the hyphen as little prefixes you can put on the name of bookmarks.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them in order. Yeah, it's handy.
So everybody has, well, it's come up quite a bit that a lot of us have gotten our ideas for Worldox tips from John Heckman. And So I think we'll let him share some of his tips with bookmarks next. Are you there, John?
John's muted.
I think we can't hear you, John.
Yeah, he's muted still.
Let me see if I can. Ella, do you have the ability to unmute him from there?
There he goes.
Okay.
He's got it.
Oh, wait, I think we could.
All right, I should be on now, right?
Yeah, now we can hear
okay.
you.
All right. So the first thing I do is I make the bookmark bar yellow, so it stands out a little bit. You can obviously make it any color you want. I always tell people you can make Worldox as ugly as you want, but yellow stands out a little bit. It's not too overwhelming. And people have said, well, what do you want in a bookmark, in a search? The first search I always create is client files. And the thing about bookmarks, a lot of people don't do them. And I always say an installation without bookmarks is a bad installation, because every bookmark will save you at least 2 or 3 clicks or even more in searching. It makes your life easier. You've got a lot of one-click options. The client files brings up a basic search, lets you search by any parameters you want. And as was mentioned before, a lot of times people just want to see the documents and not the emails. So some of my clients create a bookmark that's client files, but not email. You just put not email in the document type and it excludes all that. The third thing I do is that you can link the columns that are display to a particular search. So I create an email search that has email to, from, or either to or from, and then I tie that to a column display so that in the result you see the email to and from, which most of the time most people don't have that, so they've got all these little email documents in their system, but they don't know who they're to or from. So if you create a search that ties these columns here to the results of the search, you get a lot more productivity. The third thing that I do is, with all my clients, is I put up some of my documentation. And I call it GX4 Help. And I put my cheat sheets, various other specific documentation. Some firms put up various firm manuals and stuff, so that when users have a question, they've got one-click access to all their help documents. It makes it a little bit easier for users to get help on their own without having to call somebody else or me or tech support or whatever. And the last thing, which I think is one of the most powerful ones, is my favorites. The favorites in Worldox is a revolving list. It's the last 20 days or 30 days. And that goes away if you don't use a document, which makes sense. However, everybody has documents that they use all the time, whether it's letterhead or boilerplate or timesheets or labels or whatever. And down here at the bottom where it says bookmark your important items, if you click in the left-hand column so that that turns red, and then you do save this list or save my faves, you then got a one-click access to all those documents that you use all the time. In the past, and still many people put a number, and I've seen dozens of documents on their desktop, supposedly because they're easy to access right there. Well, if you create a My Faves bookmark, you have your desktop inside Worldox. And it's one-click access to everything that you use all the time, no matter where you're at. So that's my short list of favorite bookmarks.
Thanks, John. And I think up next, Charlotte has a few tips.
Hey there. So John Heckman already stole my thunder on one, and that would be to bookmark your chosen favorites. And I always show, during the training, I actually will do this. I'll do a search for the documentation that Baker Cadence provides to our Worldox clients. And so they can watch me actually perform a search. Then I mark it so that we've got the bright red heart, making it a chosen favorite. And then I show them the heart here that you see. And I say, just show me my chosen favorites. And then I create a bookmark. So by going through that little process, I've introduced them to searching, or I've introduced them to marking a document as a chosen favorite, and I've introduced them to creating a bookmark. So I'll just add that. You can tack it on to the end of John's and have a bigger package there. The second thing that I will usually create a bookmark to is all favorites. So yeah, so there's my chosen favorites. So now go back to that.
Back to this one.
So the first little screenshot that I had was actually bookmarking all the favorites. And what I mean by that is, if I'm in Word, the most natural thing in the world to do when I'm looking for a Word document, I'm already in Word, is file open. However, if it starts at favorites, it wants to filter that list by Word documents, which is mostly okay with me. If I'm doing file open from Word, I'm probably looking for a Word document. But when you attach a file from Outlook, that doesn't work so well, because now Worldox wants to filter that favorites list by Outlook items. And you don't know what you're going to see. What if I want to attach a PDF? I know it's in my favorites, I can't see it. So what I would do is I would click on the heart for the favorites, and then I would click on show all favorites. And there it would be, my PDF document. So then I would go ahead and bookmark that show all favorites, simply so that it's one click instead of 2 clicks. And the third type of bookmark that I create a lot would be personal categories. So you can see over here on the right, there's that little yellow bookmark that says follow up. So I use categories a lot. I love categories, especially personal categories. And when I receive, say, an email from a client and they say, you know, we would really like for you to provide some training for us in Worldox, but we're really busy right now. Can you contact me in a month or so? I don't want to lose track of that email, and I'm not going to leave it in Outlook because it'll get buried in all the other emails. So I go ahead, I respond, I say, yes, I'll be happy to do that. I get the pop-up for the email that just went out. When I save that email into Worldox, I have a personal category called follow-up. You can search for those personal categories, and I bookmark my follow-up. And I do check it. I would like to say I check it every day because Bill Baker is listening. However, I don't check it every day, but I do check it very often, so that I can make sure, is it time to follow up yet? Is it time to follow up yet? So those are the three that I not only use myself, but will, not the personal categories one so much, but the all favorites and the chosen favorites bookmarks, I incorporate those into my training scenario.
Charlotte, I think you use those the follow-ups to follow up on me too.
I actually do, except my personal category for following up for Bill.
It's Bill's follow-up.
It's Ask Bill. And don't tell him, but his little icon is a little devil.
I believe that.
But I
like
do.
your.
When I am CC'd on an email that really is meant for one of my colleagues, I will often follow up with them because they're busy, I'm busy. I just want to make sure that all the pieces get connected. And so when I save that email into Worldox, which I do, I try to keep my Outlook updated. I will use those personal categories for Ask Bill or Ask Dan, and I do follow up with them.
Yes, she does. Let me tell you. Is this done yet? Is this done yet? Yeah.
No, once a mother, always a mother.
Well, you're a team, and that's actually a good tool for a team. I hadn't thought of using personal categories for essentially you're using them as part of your workflow. So once you've done it, you can take the category off, and then it'll drop off of the search, right?
That's exactly right. And I think that personal categories are one of those underused features. And I always try to encourage Baker Cadence clients, have you thought about using a personal category to organize that when they call us with certain scenarios? And great feature, and you can bookmark them.
I think in a future webinar, we're going to be talking about categories, so we may have you revisit that in further detail during that webinar.
Yeah, I love them.
And let's see. So even though you did speak about this already, I think, and so did John, I think your slide actually gives people a better idea of what you were talking about in terms of how to actually create the bookmark. So I will leave this up on the screen for a moment longer. And,
yeah, especially with those chosen favorites, because if you've never used chosen favorites before, but you have looked at this list, you won't see chosen favorites until you actually have one. And so now that people know about chosen favorites, when you go to the heart on the button bar, you'll see chosen favorites at the top where it wasn't there before.
That's a good point, because all of these are only going to show up in your list if you've actually saved one of them recently, or if you have no email in Worldox, then you're not going to have email on this list. If you haven't ever copied anything, you're not going to have copied as a category of favorites.
That's a good point.
Rebecca, I have one thing to add.
Sure.
When we're doing a new installation and we're moving documents from their legacy structure over to the new Worldox cabinet structure, I like to have people move the documents and then create a search to that client matter and then bookmark it. And from then on, they just have to click the bookmark and they'll see all the documents that are under that matter. So they don't even have to set up a search, but have bookmarks. The only problem is that if you have a lot of matters, people tend to make a lot of bookmarks, and they then take up a lot of real estate. But in that way, I think it just shows how easy Worldox is. You don't have to really learn the intricate searching if you just want to do it once and just make a bookmark. Makes it easy.
Actually, I'm not quite sure I agree with that. I think with bookmarks, as with so many other aspects of Worldox, less is more. I mean, I have clients that have 4 or 5 rows, 50 bookmarks. It's very unclear to me that that's more efficient than actually doing a search, because you got to figure out where the damn things are. And so I think with bookmarks, as with everything else, less is more. You can uncheck them and take them off the bookmark bar if you just want them. Right. Or if it's a matter that is no longer active or you're not working on anymore, as I think Rick said, just delete it and get rid of it. But if you have more than, I would say, 2 rows of bookmarks, my opinion, your system is becoming less efficient, not more efficient.
I agree, John, that people should not keep all their bookmarks, but I sure found it easy for people to accept Worldox on their early days of using it, because they can have a lot of trust in easily finding documents.
Oh, that's true.
There's definitely a difference between the first-time document management user who is having trouble understanding why they need to add all this metadata to these documents when they used to just click save. So anything that can be done to make that easier initially is always good. But I think all of you tend to go back into firms after you've done an implementation and do follow-up training later after they've had a chance to, sort of get used to the system, and that's when they're going to have more questions about more advanced features other than just, well, how do I get to this matter right now immediately? So.
Well, and there's so many secrets in Worldox too, Rebecca. So if you go back a few screens to John's screen for me, just because there's been reference to use of characters, several people have talked about asterisks and hyphens. Has anybody ever noticed that when you have a file name, a description, like John has here, he has, it looks like two of them that might have been Ray, R-E colon. Has anybody ever noticed that if you then come to the filters tab at the bottom of the screen in Worldox, that there's a top line that says description, and it shows you those files that begin with RE, and you can click on them. Well, here's the super secret to that, the use of the colon. So let's say in a naming convention, you name documents letter, and you put a colon after it. You name agreements, agreement, colon. You are magically going to have in a list of your filters at the bottom of the screen, clickable choices to bring up all letters separately from all agreements, simply because you're using the colon character in a naming convention.
I got to write that down. I didn't know that.
That's really handy. Okay.
Yeah,
Frank
I know
is
some
the
people...
king of Worldox on that. He knows that trivia. That was great, Frank.
Rebecca, if you go back to Bookmark a filter, the first screen where I've got the DOCs and DOCXs circled. There you go. Oh, that's perfect. So you'll see that top line where it says description 2017 colon, and then across all those have colons.
You see how super sneaky Sandy Johnson is. She's figured that one out, and she teaches people that. It's a great feature.
That's handy. Okay.
And my favorite prefix, since we're talking about prefixes, is the period. So the period is almost invisible, so you can't even see it actually. And what's even better is if you put two periods, you can actually order within the order. So you can get a sub-ordering within the ordering. And the two periods are also almost invisible. So you can actually, by using the description sort, just with the creative use of periods. And again, they don't take up any real estate because that bookmark can get pretty full if you use all these tips and tricks. But it actually takes, it's so narrow that it's almost invisible, and it's an invisible kind of ordering that people don't even know is there.
I agree 100%. Single and double, even triple decimal points. We tend to do that instead of asterisks or hyphens just because of that. I agree with that, Peter.
You're talking about on the bookmarks bar? Yeah,
Yes.
I use more characters, the periods for certain ones. It depends what order I want them in, the asterisk for others, and a question mark or hyphen for others, but period, double period, triple period to get suborder, yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a hierarchy of those characters in computing that cause them to sort in different orders.
Okay, who knows that hierarchy?
I was going to say,
there's a hierarchy of the ASCII table. If you ever look up an ASCII table, they're in the order that they appear in the ASCII table.
Nice.
Okay.
And our next webinar, folks, will be about Bitcoin,
ASCII.
and one of us will try to define what Bitcoin really means.
Why we should go back to DOS?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, someone asked, how do you color the bookmark bar? That was in John's presentation.
So if you go up to if you go up to display and then customize and then colors, you get a list of everything that you can change the color on. It's not just the bookmark bar, it's the rows, it's all kinds of things you can change the color on. So it's under display, customize, colors.
But I have something to say on that. Be careful, because not everything that's in that list, the titles don't always explain exactly what it is. And we've had clients that have gone in and just clicked to their little heart's content, and then they turn something bright purple and they don't know what they did, and then they call us to help figure it out. And sometimes it takes a little while to figure out exactly what they clicked on. So if you're one of those people that really likes a colorful screen and you want to play around with those colors, do one at a time. So that if you don't like it, you'll remember what you just did.
You can change it back. Got it.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. Good tip.
Yeah, I changed the bookmarks bar, the selected top tab, and the selected bottom tab. Those are the three colors I changed. Oh, and the color of the highlighted document in my file list. But otherwise, I try to stay out of them because it can be dangerous.
Well, you can work with a firm and gather with the planning group something they like, right? You can create that with them. You can then put it in globally. And that does make a big difference, folks. Having a color set that is comfortable and pleasing and sets things apart is truly useful. And on that note, you can take your own firm's logo and embed that in Worldox so it doesn't say Worldox on the screens. And that's a nice little nicety to makes the firm feel better, I think, about the software when it says their name.
Well, and then you can just let the users go rogue, and you will have someone change it from the colors to white text on a white background.
Gives us something to do on those slow days.
Yeah. Yeah. Never forget that one. White text on a white background.
So they then
the
redacted all their own data, right, Sandy?
Yes, exactly. It was Sandy.
Oh, I was just going to say I had somebody do the opposite and do a black background with black text.
Yes, same idea.
That one I've had, and it took a while to figure it out, but we fixed it. Yes.
We call that the invisible font.
Well, what this user said was, all my documents are gone. They're all gone, Sandy. They're all gone.
No.
Yeah. They were. Yeah, couldn't see them.
And we feel so good when we fix it for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one took a little while because that was way back when they just introduced colors into Worldox. So it was like, yeah.
I also wanted to remind everyone on the call that we do have a couple handouts. So if you have not downloaded them yet, you can do that. They're in the side panel, and there are two little overviews of two of the tips that we put in today with a little more detail if anybody wants to see those.
And I think we're actually, I was just going to say we're getting to, the hour mark. So I don't know if anybody has any last minute tips to offer.
Well, I'd just like to say one thing in that if you've gotten anything out of this webinar, it's that there's many ways to do one thing. And what I try to get our clients to realize is like just the add this list button. You can put a button up there. You can right click on the tab and get add this list. You can go to Bookmarks, add this list. So I tell people, what is easier for you? How are you going to remember to do this? I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to any of these. That's why we have so many different ways. But that's one thing I definitely have taken from this.
I think as well, it also highlights the need for ongoing training as well for everybody. It's not just to go live, train for an hour,
Definitely.
get people survival training and you're done. There's a lot of great ideas, and obviously this group where obviously the people you should be coming to get yourself to get even more ideas and be more efficient, because once you've deployed Worldox, It's just an incremental hour every so often to really make it much, much more effective. The hard part is deploying it. Once you've done it, then the tweaks can be very powerful, and people can't take it all at once. So just keep the ongoing training, whether that's every 3 months, 6 months, every year, whatever it is. But make sure you're doing that as well.
Okay, then
the other thing I was just going to say to everyone, if you've made it this long through the bookmark session here, your life is made up of clicks of a mouse, and if you can reduce some of those, you'll have a better life. So bookmarks allow you to do in one click what might have been taking you 3 or 4. So take advantage of that. Make your life simpler.
Definitely.
Good advice.
Well, I thank all of you for participating, and thank you so much for sharing all the tips and tricks and suggestions of how to better take advantage of all the bookmarks. And as mentioned, this session is recorded, and we are going to post it on our website. We'll also send it out to everyone who registered. We have recordings of past webinars, so if there's anything you missed, you can go and check it out. And we hope that you will join us again for another session. They're usually on Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
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 See y'all.